when I see these people on TV trying to make it so much harder than it is and obfuscate the science by saying, well, we can't really be sure because, heck, we can't even predict next week with all that. That's because climate is easier to predict than weather. If you add heat, it gets warmer. If you add CO2 to the atmosphere, you trap more heat, redirecting that so it doesn't escape into space. You change the global heat balance, and the temperature of the planet goes up.
Amen.
We are currently putting in 100 million tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere every single day. Now, if you think you want to solve that with sequestration, currently the price of sequestering carbon at best in Iceland, where they can do it with the best conditions because of the volcanic soil and the geothermal energy, is $1,000 a ton. Okay? At $1,000 a ton, at $100 million a ton, 100 million tons a day, the cost of sequestering carbon would come out to about $30 trillion a year. That's just to keep it back down what we put up every single year. It doesn't make sense. It's a lot cheaper to just not put the carbon up there in the first place. So if you're talking about socializing the cost and privatizing the profits of carbon pollution, you've got some pretty huge numbers we're talking about. And we could solve a lot of these problems just by taxing the cost of the carbon. That's what we really need to do at the true cost of what the carbon is going to be. Now, we mentioned the little book on climate, and there are some copies up here at the front, and on the back, if you don't get a copy today, we have the QR code, but anybody that has a book, if you get one, there's a little QR code on the back that you can download a free copy of the book. So this book I wrote a couple of years ago, and the co-author is Dr. Peter Tons from NOAA up in Boulder. Dr. Tons is a brilliant climate scientist, and he ran the lab at Mauna Loa for many years to measure the carbon, which right now is about 425 parts per million, up from 280 parts per million, a 50% increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. We can't continue to do this, and we can't hide the science to pretend the problem doesn't exist. We have to get the message out, because we can still fix this. We are burning daylight, but if we get positive action, we can still fix it. I, in my retirement now, I've only been off the air long enough to grow this fledgling beard, we'll continue to do a lot of work in climate science and as well in the new super grid. If we can develop an interstate highway for electricity, we might even be able to get this out in front of the current administration and get them to see it's a good idea, because the amount of electricity that's going to be needed for data centers and AI and crypto is maybe around 100 gigawatts by 2030. That's 100 nuclear power plants. That ain't going to happen. But we can put a gigawatt of solar energy in just a few months with utility scale solar. And the value of that solar energy now is the cheapest. It's about $60 per megawatt hour. So I did the math on this. And if you had solar that you were raising like a solar farmer, the value of that at $60 per megawatt hour is $50,000 per acre per year. I looked it up on ChatGPT and DeepSeek and said, how much are soybeans? And they said 700. What's corn? 1,000. What are oranges? 10,000. Find me something that is more valuable than that. I came up with saffron, the most expensive spice in the world. That's worth $30,000 an acre. Solar energy is worth $50,000 per acre. If we have the grid, the modern grid, to bring that from where it's being grown to where it's needed. This should be the next big project for the United States. The Transcontinental Railroad in the 19th century, the Interstate Highway in the 20th century, the direct current super grid for the 21st century. Huge job creator, and we could power our nation with renewable energy, because the sun, on a big enough scale, it's always sunny or windy somewhere. We can do this. So I'm going to finish with this last little math exercise. If you had enough money to give to good causes $1 million a day, it would take you 3,000 years to give away $1 trillion. If you could give away $10 million a day, it would take you 300 years. And if you could give away $100 million a day, you could do that for 30 years. The three richest people in the United States could donate $100 million a day, just those three, and still have their private jets and their yachts and their huge houses for the rest of their lives.
Tax the billionaires!
My friends, the problems that we face will not be solved by firing park rangers and National Weather Service. Thank you very much.